In chapter 3, we explore, frankly, one of my favourite themes in the New Testament, Jesus, the friend of sinners. I became a Christian through this extraordinary woman who was what we call in Australia a scripture teacher. Now, I know that sounds bizarre outside of Australia because the idea of having volunteers who come to state schools and teach about religion sounds, utterly bizarre, right? But in Australia, we do that. So you can either go to Jewish lessons or Islamic lessons or Christian lessons. Anyway, so when I was in high school, I went to the Christian lessons. Wasn't at all interested in Christianity, but if you didn't go to the Christian lessons, you had to go to a real lesson supervised by a real teacher. Right? It's a no-brainer. So you go to the little old lady who comes and talks to you about God, you don't listen, etc. But anyway, in about, I guess I was 15, 16, we had this scripture teacher who was clever, smart as all get out, funny, had answers to all of my smart questions, and then had the courage one day to invite the whole class to her home on Friday afternoons to eat hamburgers, milkshakes and all sorts of other things and study the Bible together. Now, I wasn't that interested in the Bible, but the food I was really interested in. So about 6 or 8 of my friends, the worst sinners in the school, turned up at this woman's home. She showed us into a lounge room. She fed us mountains of this gorgeous food to the point where I could hardly get up out of the couch, And then she brought out the Bible, and I remember thinking, she's got me, She's like the wicked witch, right? She's got me, she's gonna tell me to be good and everything. She didn't. She said, do you have questions about God? And here was the first time I could ask my questions. The interesting thing was, as I looked around the room at my mates, there were some of the worst sinners in the school. I mean, drug pusher, young bloke who had a string of break and enters to his credit, school bully, I won't tell you which of those I was, and a whole bunch of other things. And this woman embraced it. She knew what we were like, but she embraced us. And we went back the next Friday afternoon and the next for about 18 months on Friday afternoons. And eventually, through this woman's incredible openness to us, completely immoral, irreligious teenagers, I heard about Jesus. And this woman embodies for me one of the most fascinating, striking elements of the story of Jesus itself. Jesus was a friend to sinners. He got in trouble for it from the religious leaders, but he sat down at the table and ate meals with sinners, just as this woman did with us. And Jesus was doing it for the same reason, not just as a ploy to trick people in to hear the gospel. It was like an embodiment of the gospel. It was a way of Jesus saying, sinners can be friends with God, can sit at the dinner table together. They can be drawn into his mercy. And this chapter explores that theme. It begins with Jesus and his practice. Then it moves to the Apostle Paul, who emulated Jesus, because Paul, as you know, was radical in his idea that the free grace of Christ extends not just to Jews, but to the Gentiles, the utter sinners. And then Paul says in this very interesting passage in 1 Corinthians, which you'll get to in the chapter, that we are to imitate him as he imitates Jesus in being the friend of sinners.